Why do some women walk away without a fight, and yet you can't stop thinking about them? Why do they seem so calm, so clear, while you're stuck replaying conversations in your head? It's not indifference, it's emotional intelligence, and it changes everything. This video isn't just another list of surface-level advice. It's a mirror, a reminder of the power you hold when you finally stop abandoning yourself for love. Because emotional intelligence isn't about being soft-spoken or endlessly patient. It's about knowing what to allow and what to walk away from. It's about recognizing when something isn't love. It's emotional confusion. And it's about making a different choice, one that brings peace instead of pain. In the next few minutes, we'll walk through the key things emotionally intelligent women never do. Not because they're better, but because they've lived the consequences of doing it differently. And they've chosen better. Chapter 1. She never chases confusion. There's a version of you that used to overthink every silence, that waited by the phone, that reread his last message 5 times just to decode the tone. That thought, maybe if I say the right thing, he'll come back. You used to call it love. You used to think you were just being patient. But really, you were chasing clarity from someone who benefited from keeping you confused. That version of you? She was operating from survival, from fear, from a nervous system addicted to crumbs. Emotionally intelligent women don't chase that anymore because they've learned if he's not choosing you clearly, he's already telling you everything. She doesn't explain herself to someone who isn't listening. When a man says, "I'm not ready for something serious," she hears him, not with judgment, but with finality. She doesn't follow it up with a paragraph, a counterpoint, or a second chance. She doesn't treat his uncertainty as a puzzle to solve, because she understands, if someone wants to be there, you won't need to convince them. She doesn't negotiate her self-worth through texting first, proving value, or chasing validation. You know the feeling. You reach out first, again. You wait for the reply that takes hours, maybe days, and when it comes, it's short, cold, vague. But you tell yourself, at least he answered. Emotionally intelligent women stop celebrating breadcrumbs because they've felt the emotional starvation that comes from constantly asking, "What am I doing wrong?" They're no longer available for connections that make them question themselves more than they feel seen. She doesn't confuse silence with mystery. She knows. If someone disappears, it's not deep, it's avoidance. If someone gives mixed signals, it's not passion, it's emotional unavailability. If she has to guess, she's already giving more than she's receiving. She doesn't build relationships on hopes, she builds them on consistency. She knows the difference between chemistry and anxiety. That butterflies in your stomach feeling? It used to excite her. Now it's a red flag. Because she's learned, real connection feels safe, calm, grounded, not like a roller coaster you didn't ask to be on. She doesn't mistake emotional chaos for depth. She doesn't stay because of the potential of who someone could be. She stays when her nervous system says, "Here, you can rest." She lets silence speak, without chasing after noise. She doesn't fill the gaps with just checking in texts. She doesn't overcompensate for someone else's distance. She lets people show her who they are when she stops reaching. Because here's what she knows. If silence ends a connection, it wasn't a connection. It was a performance held together by your effort alone. Let's stop here for a second. If this hits something inside you, that's okay. You're not weak for having chased. You're not wrong for having hoped. Every emotionally intelligent woman has, at some point, tried to hold something together that was never whole to begin with. But emotional intelligence starts where self-abandonment ends. It starts with one powerful question. If I stop chasing, what stays? The answer will show you everything. Chapter 2. She doesn't make excuses for people's bad behavior. There's a point in every woman's journey where she realizes, just because she understands someone's pain doesn't mean she has to stay and absorb it. Emotionally intelligent women see people clearly, not through the lens of who they could become, but through the lens of how they actually show up. And that's why they no longer excuse bad behavior in the name of compassion. She doesn't turn trauma into a hall pass. Yes, he had a rough childhood. Yes, his ex hurt him. Yes, he doesn't know how to communicate. She gets it. She sees it. She feels the unhealed wounds behind his anger, coldness, or avoidance. But she also knows empathy without boundaries is self-destruction. She no longer sacrifices her emotional well-being to play the role of someone's emotional rehab center, because she's learned you can understand someone's story without letting them keep rewriting yours. She doesn't confuse emotional labor with love. She used to do that. She thought loving meant being endlessly patient, tolerating mood swings, calming him down when he yelled, justifying his distance, and explaining his behavior to her friends. She thought that's what real women do, stay through it all. But emotional intelligence taught her the difference between loyalty and self-abandonment. Now, she doesn't carry what's not hers. She loves deeply, but not blindly. She doesn't ignore red flags because she sees potential. Potential is seductive. It whispers, he could be amazing if he just healed. He's not really like this. He's just stressed. Give it time. He'll open up. But emotionally intelligent women don't fall in love with who someone might be. They love based on how someone treats them now. Potential is not partnership. Promise is not presence. She knows. If someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. She doesn't accept apologies without changed behavior. I'm sorry used to melt her. It gave her hope. It made her feel chosen again, even if just for a moment. But now, she watches patterns, not words. She listens with her body, not just her ears. And if someone keeps doing the same thing over and over, she no longer calls that love. She calls it a lesson. She doesn't spiritualize dysfunction. Maybe you've done this too. You meet someone emotionally unavailable and tell yourself, this is my mirror. The universe brought him to me for growth. He's my twin flame. We trigger each other because it's real. And yes, growth can happen, but emotionally intelligent women don't use spiritual language to stay in situations that damage their self-worth. They don't confuse chaos with divine connection. They don't confuse pain with purpose. They don't make soul contracts with people who refuse to do soul work. She no longer plays therapist in her romantic relationships. She used to be the fixer, the explainer, the one who'd read 5 books just to understand why he couldn't say, I love you. Now, she lets men do their own healing. She offers space, not solutions. She offers support, not self-sacrifice. Because she finally understands. Love isn't about carrying someone. It's about walking side by side. If you've been in this pattern, you're not weak. You're not broken. You're just someone who was taught that love means endurance. You were taught to romanticize pain, to see difficulty as depth, to believe that being a strong woman meant surviving emotional malnourishment. But here's your truth. You're not here to be his therapist. You're not here to be his crutch. You're not here to be understanding at your own expense. You're here to be loved, fully, freely, peacefully. And when you finally stop making excuses for what hurts you, you create space for the kind of love that never needs explaining. Chapter 3. She doesn't confuse intensity with intimacy. Intensity feels powerful. It's intoxicating. It sweeps you off your feet, takes your breath away, and makes you feel like you've known this person forever. But emotional intensity, without emotional safety, is just adrenaline. It's chemistry without clarity. It's a high that crashes hard. And emotionally intelligent women, they've learned not to confuse fire for foundation. She knows the difference between a spark and stability. The spark says, I need you. I can't stop thinking about you. I've never felt this way before. Stability says, I choose you. I respect you. I'll show up, even when it's not easy. Emotionally intelligent women no longer choose the man who gives them butterflies on day 1, if he also gives them anxiety on day 2. Because now, they measure connection not by the rush, but by how they feel when it all slows down. She's not impressed by chaos. She used to mistake chaos for passion, the hot and cold, the late-night texts, the sudden disappearances followed by grand gestures. It all felt like something deep was happening. But now? She calls that what it is: emotional unavailability dressed up as romance. The chase, the confusion, the craving, that's not intimacy. It's survival bonding. It's nervous system dysregulation. It's being addicted to uncertainty because you mistake it for love. She's been there. She's done that. And she has no interest in returning. She doesn't glorify instant chemistry. She knows real connection isn't always explosive. Sometimes it's calm, gradual, safe. And she used to dismiss that. She used to say, "There's no spark," when really, there was no chaos. But now, she's not looking to be swept away. She's looking to be grounded, because she understands. Healthy love doesn't leave you breathless. It lets you breathe. She doesn't confuse triggering with bonding. Yes, he triggered something in her. Yes, their connection was electric. Yes, it felt karmic, fated, cosmic. But was it consistent? Was it respectful? Was it emotionally safe? Emotionally intelligent women now ask, am I bonded or am I trauma bonded? They know that just because someone makes your heart race doesn't mean they're good for it. She chooses peace over passion that burns her. She doesn't crave the highs and lows anymore. She doesn't mistake the silence between fights for intimacy. She doesn't need the emotional roller coaster to feel alive, because now, aliveness feels like peace, like being seen, like not questioning her worth every 5 minutes. She doesn't need to feel intense to feel connected. She just needs to feel safe, in her body, in her voice, and in his presence. The most important insight: you don't need to be more open, more available, more exposed to be loved. You need to be rooted, present, aligned. You need to know when to speak, when to pause, and when to walk away. You've tried the old way, now try the wise way. And remember, emotional intelligence isn't cold, it's clear. It's not passive, it's powerful. It's not about having no emotions, it's about knowing which ones to honor and which ones to stop betraying yourself for. This is your soft power. This is your strength.